I remember the morning it all changed. Not the morning she said those words, no, that came later. I'm talking about the morning I woke up and realized I no longer recognized my own home. The curtains were drawn differently. The photo frames I'd arranged on the mantel were gone, replaced by modern art I'd never seen before. Even the scent had changed. It wasn't lavender and old wood anymore. It was something sharp. Something cold. I stood in my kitchen, the kitchen I'd painted with my own hands 30 years ago, and I felt like a guest. That's when I knew. Something had shifted. And I couldn't ignore it anymore. But let me start from the beginning. Because this story isn't just about betrayal. It's about love. It's about sacrifice. And it's about learning, sometimes too late, that silence can be the cruelest response of all. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I'm a mother. A widow. And for most of my life, I believed that family was everything. I raised my son alone after my husband passed. He was only 12 then. I worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to keep the lights on and food on the table. I never remarried. I didn't have the time, and honestly, I didn't have the heart. My husband had been my everything, and when he died, a part of me went with him. But my son kept me alive. I poured everything into him. Every dream I had, every sacrifice I made, it was all for him. I wanted him to have a life I never had. Education. Stability. A home he could be proud of. And he did well. He became an engineer. He was kind, respectful, ambitious. I watched him grow into a man I knew his father would have been proud of. Then he met her. At first, I was happy. Truly. What mother doesn't want her son to find love? I thought, finally, he'll have someone to share his life with. Someone who'll support him the way I did. Someone who'll become family. Her name was Natasha. She was beautiful. Polished. Well-spoken. The first time she came to the house, she smiled at me warmly, complimented the garden, admired the old furniture. "You have such a lovely home, Ma," she said. "It feels so lived in." I took it as a compliment. I didn't realize yet that lived in was her polite way of saying outdated. The wedding was simple. My son didn't want anything extravagant, and I was relieved. We held it in the backyard, the same backyard where he used to play as a child. I decorated it myself. White flowers. String lights. A small wooden arch his father had built years ago for our anniversary. Natasha smiled through it all. But I noticed even then, that her smile never quite reached her eyes when she looked at me. Still, I told myself I was imagining things. She was nervous. It was a big day. Of course she seemed distant. After the wedding, they moved in with me. It made sense, practically speaking. The house was big. I had 3 bedrooms, and they were still saving for their own place. My son asked me gently, almost apologetically, if it would be okay. "Of course," I said. "This is your home, Beta. It always will be." I meant it. I thought we'd be a family. The first few weeks were fine. Natasha was polite. She'd greet me in the mornings, help with a few chores, sit with me during tea sometimes. But slowly, things began to change. It started with small things. Little comments, here and there. "Ma, don't you think this sofa is a bit old-fashioned? Why do you still use these heavy curtains? They make the room so dark. You know, people don't really keep photos on walls anymore. It's not modern." Each comment felt like a pinprick. Tiny. Barely painful. But enough to sting. I tried to laugh them off. I told myself she was young. She had different tastes. That's normal, isn't it? But then the comments became actions. One day, I came home from the market to find the living room completely rearranged. The couch I'd sat on for 20 years was pushed to the corner. The coffee table my husband had made was gone, replaced with a glass one I'd never seen before. "I thought I'd freshen things up a bit," Natasha said brightly when I stood frozen in the doorway. "Don't you think it looks better?" I didn't know what to say. I just nodded. My son said nothing. Over the next few months, more things disappeared. The old clock in the hallway. The bookshelf my husband built. The rug we'd bought on our honeymoon. Natasha always had an excuse. It was broken. It didn't match. I donated it. It's better someone else gets use out of it. But she never asked me. Not once. I started feeling like I was fading. Like I was being erased, piece by piece, from my own home. And still, my son said nothing. I tried to talk to him. One evening, when Natasha was out with friends, I sat him down. Beta, I said gently, I know you're building a life with Natasha. I'm happy for you. But, this is still my home too. I'd appreciate it if she asked before making big changes. He looked uncomfortable. He rubbed the back of his neck, the way he always did when he didn't know what to say. Ma, she's just trying to make the house feel like hers too. She's not trying to disrespect you. I know, I said. But it would be nice if she included me. That's all I'm asking. He nodded. I'll talk to her. He never did. Things escalated. Natasha stopped asking if I needed anything from the store. She stopped setting a plate for me at dinner unless I specifically asked. She'd make plans for the house, painters, furniture deliveries, landscapers, and I'd find out when they showed up at the door. I felt invisible. Worse than that, I felt tolerated. And my son? He became a shadow. He'd come home from work, kiss his wife, eat dinner, and disappear into their room. He stopped sitting with me in the evenings. Stopped asking about my day. It was like I didn't exist unless there was something they needed. One night, I couldn't sleep. I came downstairs for water and overheard them talking in the living room. Natasha's voice was low, but sharp. I don't understand why we're still living here. It's suffocating. We're saving money, my son said. We'll have our own place soon. Soon isn't good enough, she snapped. I didn't get married to live with your mother. Silence. Then my son quietly, she's been good to us. We're not paying rent. We should be patient. Natasha laughed. It was a cold sound. Patient? You think I'm doing this for fun? I'm playing nice, waiting for the right moment. But let me be clear, I don't care about patience. I care about getting what's mine. I stood frozen in the hallway. What do you mean? My son asked. This house, she said flatly. It's in your name eventually, isn't it? Once she's gone, or once we convince her to sign it over. That's the end game. I couldn't breathe. Natasha. Don't Natasha me, she interrupted. You think I married you for love? I married you because you're stable. Because you have assets. This house is prime real estate. Do you know what it's worth? Silence. I'm not saying I don't care about you, she continued, her tone softening slightly. But let's be realistic. Your mother is old. She doesn't need this entire house. We do. It's just practical. I didn't wait to hear my son's response. I walked back upstairs, my legs shaking, my heart shattering. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying her words over and over. Asterisk, I married you because you're stable. Because you have assets. Asterisk. Asterisk, this house is prime real estate. Asterisk. Asterisk, your mother is old. She doesn't need this entire house. Asterisk. Every word was a knife. But what hurt the most? My son didn't defend me. He didn't say, that's my mother you're talking about. He didn't walk out. He didn't fight. He just stayed silent. The next morning, I acted normal. I made tea. I greeted them at breakfast. I smiled. But inside, something had broken. I realized in that moment that I was alone. My son, the boy I raised, the man I sacrificed everything for, he wasn't going to protect me. And Natasha? She saw me as an obstacle. A problem to be solved. I was living in my own home, and I was the one who didn't belong. I started watching, listening, paying attention in ways I hadn't before. Natasha was smart. I'd give her that. She was careful around me, always polite on the surface. But when she thought I wasn't looking, the mask slipped. She'd roll her eyes when I spoke. She'd sigh loudly if I took too long in the kitchen. She'd make snide comments to my son when they thought I couldn't hear. Your mom is so slow. Why does she insist on doing everything the old way? I can't wait until we don't have to deal with this anymore. Each comment was a reminder, I was in the way. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I knew that if I reacted emotionally, I'd lose. Natasha was young, sharp, manipulative. She'd twist my words, make me look like the villain. So instead, I did something I'd never done before. I started documenting everything. I kept a journal. I wrote down every conversation, every incident, every time she made a decision about the house without asking me. I saved texts, emails. I even started recording conversations when I could, just audio, nothing fancy, but enough. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet. But I knew one thing. If she wanted this house, she was going to have to go through me. And I wasn't going down without a fight. Weeks passed. The tension in the house grew thicker, almost suffocating. Natasha became bolder. She stopped pretending. One afternoon, I came home to find workers in the house, painters, redoing the walls of the guest room. "What's going on?" I asked, confused. Natasha appeared from the hallway, phone in hand, barely glancing at me. "Oh, we're turning that room into a home office. I figured since no one uses it, why not?" "That was my husband's study," I said quietly. She paused, looked at me, smiled. "Well, he's not here anymore, is he?" The air left my lungs. My son walked in just then, saw my face, and quickly said, "Ma, we should have told you." "I'm sorry. But we really need the space." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I didn't recognize the man standing in front of me. That night, I sat alone in my bedroom, the one room in the house that still felt like mine. I thought about my husband, about the life we'd built, about every corner of this house that held a memory, his laughter, his voice, the way he'd hum while fixing things. This house wasn't just walls and furniture. It was us. It was our love. Our story. And I'd be damned if I let someone take that away from me. The breaking point came on a rainy evening in November. Natasha had invited her parents over for dinner. I wasn't told. I found out when I came downstairs and saw the dining table set for 6. "Oh Ma," Natasha said lightly when she saw me. "We're having guests tonight. You don't mind eating in your room, do you? We need the space." I stared at her. "This is my house," I said quietly. She blinked, as if surprised I'd spoken up. "I know," she said slowly. "But it's just for tonight. We're hosting. It'll be awkward if you're here." "Awkward?" I repeated. "Yes." She crossed her arms. "Look, I'm trying to make a good impression on my parents. I don't need you, hovering." Something inside me snapped. "Get out." She laughed. "Excuse me." I said, "Get out. This is my house. And I'm done being treated like I don't belong here." Her face darkened. "You can't kick me out. I live here." "No," I said, my voice steady now. "You're a guest. And guests leave when they're no longer welcome." Natasha's eyes flashed. She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a hiss. "You really want to do this? Fine. Let me make something very clear." She leaned in, her smile vicious. "I don't need your son. I need your house. And whether you like it or not, I'm going to get it." Silence. Behind her, my son stood frozen in the doorway. He'd heard everything. I looked at him, waiting, hoping. He said nothing. Natasha smirked, turned, and walked away. And in that moment I knew. This was war. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Those words, "I don't need your son, I need your house," echoed in my mind like a curse. Over and over, until I thought I'd go mad. But more than her words, it was my son's silence that destroyed me. He'd stood there. He'd heard everything. And he'd said nothing. I sat by the window in my bedroom, watching the rain streak down the glass, and I let myself remember. I let myself go back to the beginning. Because if I was going to fight for this house, I needed to remember why it mattered. This house was never just a house. It was a dream. My husband, Rajesh, and I bought this plot of land 32 years ago. We were newlyweds then, young and foolish and so full of hope it hurt. We had nothing. No money. No family support. Just each other and a stubborn belief that we could build something beautiful. Rajesh worked in construction during the day and drove a taxi at night. I took in sewing, stitching clothes for neighbors until my fingers bled. Every rupee we saved went into this house. I remember the day we laid the first brick. Rajesh held my hand, grinning like a boy, and said, "This is it, John. This is where we'll grow old together." I believed him. It took us 4 years to finish building. 4 years of sweat, sacrifice, and sleepless nights. Rajesh did most of the work himself. He laid the foundation. He built the walls. He installed the windows, the doors, the roof. I painted. I chose the tiles. I planted the garden. Every corner of this house was touched by our hands. Every room held a piece of our soul. When we finally moved in, we had no furniture. Just a mattress on the floor and 2 cups for tea. But we were happy. God, we were so happy. Our son was born a year later in the front bedroom. We couldn't afford the hospital, so a midwife came to the house. I remember Rajesh pacing outside the door, terrified, praying under his breath. When he finally held our son for the first time, he cried. Big, ugly, joyful tears. "He's perfect," he whispered. "He's perfect, and he's ours." We named him Ariv. It means peaceful. We didn't know then how much peace he'd bring us. How much purpose. Ariv grew up in this house. He took his first steps in the living room. He learned to ride a bike in the driveway. He did his homework at the kitchen table while I cooked dinner. This house wasn't just where we lived. It was where we became a family. Rajesh built a swing in the backyard for Ariv. I can still see them together, my husband pushing our son higher and higher while Ariv shrieked with laughter. "Careful." I'd shout from the kitchen window. Rajesh would just grin at me. "He's fine. He's a tough boy." He was. Ariv was always brave. Always kind. Always so much like his father. When Ariv was 12, everything changed. Rajesh had a heart attack. Sudden. Massive. He was gone before the ambulance even arrived. One moment, he was here. Laughing. Living. Loving. The next, he was gone. I remember standing in the hospital, staring at his body, and thinking, this can't be real. But it was. And just like that, I was alone. The months after Rajesh died were the darkest of my life. I didn't know how to function. I didn't know how to breathe without him. But I had Ariv. And Ariv needed me. So I forced myself to get up every morning. I forced myself to smile, to cook, to pretend I was okay. I worked 3 jobs. I cleaned houses. I took in more sewing. I tutored kids in the evenings. I did whatever it took to keep us afloat. To keep Ariv in school. To keep this house, the house Rajesh built with his own hands. Because losing the house would have meant losing him all over again. There were nights I wanted to give up. Nights I sat in the dark, staring at Rajesh's photo, and begged him to tell me what to do. "I can't do this alone," I'd whisper. "I don't know how." But then Ariv would come into the room, crawl into my lap even though he was getting too big for it, and say, "It's okay, Mama. We'll be okay." And I'd believe him. Ariv became my reason to keep going. My reason to fight. I watched him grow from a boy into a young man. I watched him study late into the night, determined to make something of himself. "I'm going to take care of you, Mama," he'd say. "One day, you won't have to work so hard. I promise." And he kept that promise. Ariv got into engineering school on a scholarship. He graduated top of his class. He got a good job, a stable income. For the first time in years, I could breathe. "We did it, Rajesh," I whispered to the sky. "Our boy made it." When Ariv told me he was getting married, I cried. Happy tears, this time. "I'm so proud of you," I said, holding his face in my hands. "Your father would be so proud." "I know, Mama," he said softly. "I wish he could have met her." "He's watching," I said. "I know he is." I meant it. I thought Rajesh would have loved Natasha. She seemed sweet, polite, ambitious. I thought she'd be the daughter I never had. I was wrong. Now, sitting in my room, staring at the walls my husband built, I felt the weight of it all. This house wasn't just bricks and wood. It was my history. My love. My sacrifice. It was Rajesh's hands and Ariv's laughter and every tear I cried when I thought I couldn't go on. It was proof that we'd survived. That we'd built something strong. Something lasting. And Natasha wanted to take it from me. No. I wouldn't let her. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. I wasn't going to be silent anymore. I wasn't going to be erased. If Natasha thought I was just an old woman she could push aside, she was about to learn otherwise. I got dressed, made myself tea, and sat down with a notebook. I wrote down everything. Every conversation. Every red flag. Every lie. I made a list of people I could trust, old friends, neighbors, a lawyer I'd known for years. I wasn't going to react emotionally. I wasn't going to scream or beg or cry. I was going to be smart. Strategic. Strong. Because this house was mine. And I wasn't giving it up without a fight. Over the next few days, I began reaching out. I called my old friend Mira, a woman I'd known since Ariv was a baby. She'd been through her own battles, family disputes, legal fights over property. "Come over," she said immediately when I explained the situation. "We need to talk." I went to her house that afternoon. We sat in her garden, sipping tea, and I told her everything. Mira listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "You need a lawyer. Today." "I don't want it to come to that." "It already has," she said firmly. "That girl isn't playing games. She's calculating. And if you don't protect yourself now, you'll lose everything." Her words hit me like cold water. She was right. Mira gave me the name of a lawyer, a woman named Aditi Shah. Sharp, experienced, no nonsense. I called her that evening. We set up a meeting for the next day. When I walked into Aditi's office, I was nervous. I'd never dealt with lawyers before. I didn't know what to expect. But Aditi put me at ease immediately. She was kind but direct. "Tell me everything," she said. "Start from the beginning." So I did. I told her about Natasha's comments, the changes to the house, the overheard conversation, the final confrontation. Aditi took notes, her expression unreadable. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, "You have a case. But we need evidence." "I've been keeping a journal," I said, "and I recorded some of our conversations." Her eyes sharpened. "Good. That's very good. Do you have the property papers?" "Yes. The house is in my name." "And your son's name isn't on any documents?" "No. Rajesh and I bought the house together. When he passed, it went to me. Ariv isn't on the deed." Aditi nodded slowly. "Then legally, the house is yours. Completely. She has no claim to it." I exhaled, relief flooding through me. "But," Aditi continued, "if your son tries to fight you on this, it could get complicated. Especially if she manipulates him." "He won't," I said quickly. Aditi gave me a look. A knowing, sad look. "Are you sure?" I wasn't. But I couldn't admit that. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about Aditi's question. Would Ariv fight me? He was my son. I'd raised him. I'd sacrificed everything for him. But he'd also stayed silent when Natasha disrespected me. He'd let her take over the house. He'd chosen her over me, again and again. Would he choose her now? I didn't know. And that terrified me. The next few days were tense. Natasha noticed I was different. I wasn't bending anymore. I wasn't accommodating. When she tried to make another change to the house, I stopped her. "No," I said simply. She blinked. "What do you mean no?" "I mean no. You don't get to change anything else. This is my house." Her jaw tightened. "We'll see about that." She stormed off, and I knew things were about to get worse. The house became a battlefield. Not with shouting or violence, nothing that obvious. It was quieter than that. More insidious. Natasha waged her war through cold glances, passive-aggressive comments, and silent treatment. She'd brush past me in the hallway without a word. She'd make plans for the house and deliberately exclude me. She'd cook dinner for herself and Ariv and leave me nothing. It was like I'd become invisible. Or worse, like I was a burden she was forced to endure. And Arif? He floated between us like a ghost, unwilling to take a side, unwilling to confront the truth. I watched my son shrink before my eyes. The confident, kind man I'd raised became a shell, going through the motions, avoiding conflict at all costs. It broke my heart. One evening, I decided to try again. To reach him. To make him see what was happening. I waited until Natasha went out with friends. Then I knocked softly on his bedroom door. Beta, can we talk? He looked up from his laptop, surprised. Yeah. Sure, Ma. Come in. I sat on the edge of his bed, the same bed I used to tuck him into when he was little. I need you to hear me, I said quietly. Really hear me. He nodded, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. He already knew what this was about. Arif, I love you. You know that, don't you? Of course, Ma. And I want you to be happy. I've always wanted that. That's all I've ever wanted. He looked down. I know. But Beta, something is wrong. You have to see that. He didn't respond. She doesn't respect me, I continued, my voice steady. She's taken over this house like I don't exist. She makes decisions without asking me. She's erased your father's memory from every corner of this place. Ma, let me finish. I reached for his hand. I'm not asking you to choose between us. I'm asking you to stand up for what's right. I'm asking you to protect the home your father built. The home I fought so hard to keep. He pulled his hand away gently, his face conflicted. She's my wife, Ma. And I'm your mother. Silence. She's just adjusting, he said finally. This is hard for her too. She's trying to make this place feel like home. By erasing me? I asked. By erasing your father? He flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? I stood, my chest tight. Arif, I heard her. I heard what she said. She doesn't care about you. She cares about this house. His face darkened. You don't know her like I do. Then tell me I'm wrong, I said, my voice breaking. Tell me she loves you. Tell me she didn't marry you for this house. He looked at me, and for a moment, just a moment, I saw doubt flicker in his eyes. But then he shut it down. I'm not having this conversation, he said, standing. You're being unfair to her. She's done nothing but try to fit in, and you're making it impossible. I stared at him, stunned. Fit in. I repeated. She's trying to push me out. That's not true. Then why does she treat me like I'm in the way? Why does she ignore me? Why does she make me feel like a guest in my own home? He didn't answer. Arif, please. I'm begging you. Open your eyes. He shook his head. I think you should go, Ma. The words hit me like a slap. I left his room in silence, my heart shattered. After that conversation, things got worse. Natasha sensed that I'd tried to turn Arif against her, and she retaliated. She stopped speaking to me entirely. She'd walk into a room, see me, and walk right back out. If I tried to talk to her, she'd ignore me or give me one-word answers. But the worst part? She started playing the victim. She'd cry to Arif when he got home from work, telling him how difficult I was being. How I was sabotaging their marriage. How I was making her life miserable. And he believed her. I'd hear them talking at night, her voice soft and wounded. I don't know what I did to make her hate me so much, she'd say, sniffling. I've tried so hard. But nothing I do is ever good enough. She doesn't hate you, Arif would reply, though he sounded uncertain. She's just set in her ways. She wants me gone. You know that, right? Silence. I just don't know how much more I can take. And Arif, my son, the boy I raised to stand up for truth and justice, would comfort her. Apologize for me. Reassure her that everything would be okay. He never once came to me. Never once asked for my side of the story. I felt like I was drowning. Every day, I woke up in a house that no longer felt like mine. I ate meals alone. I spent evenings in my room, listening to the sound of their laughter downstairs. I was a stranger in my own home. And the worst part? I started doubting myself. Maybe I was being unfair. Maybe I was too critical. Maybe I was the problem. But then I'd remember her words. Asterisk, I don't need your son, I need your house. Asterisk. And I'd remind myself, no. I'm not imagining this. One afternoon, I was in the kitchen making tea when Natasha walked in. She didn't greet me. She just opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and turned to leave. Natasha, I said quietly. She stopped but didn't turn around. Can we talk? I don't have anything to say to you. Please. Just for a moment. She sighed, an exaggerated sound, and turned to face me. Her arms were crossed, her expression cold. What? I took a breath. I know we haven't been getting along. And I know you feel like I've been unfair to you. She raised an eyebrow but said nothing. But I want you to understand something, I continued. This house, it's not just a house to me. It's my history. My husband built it with his own hands. My son grew up here. It's all I have left of them. Natasha stared at me, her face unreadable. I'm not trying to make your life difficult, I said. I just want to be treated with respect. I want to be included. I want to feel like I still belong here. For a moment, I thought I saw something soften in her eyes. But then she smiled. A slow, cold smile. You want respect? She said. Respect is earned. And honestly, you haven't done anything to earn mine. I felt like I'd been punched. You're living in the past, she continued. Your husband is dead. This house is outdated. And you're holding on to something that doesn't exist anymore. This is my home, I said, my voice shaking. No, she said. It's Ariv's home. And soon it'll be mine. She walked out, leaving me standing there, breathless. That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to wait anymore. I wasn't going to hope that Ariv would wake up and see the truth. I was going to take action. I called Aditi, my lawyer, and told her everything. I want to protect this house, I said. Legally. So she can never take it from me. I'll draft the documents, Aditi said. But you need to be prepared. This is going to cause a fight. I don't care, I said. I'm done being quiet. The next day, I met with Aditi. She explained the process, the paperwork, the steps I needed to take to ensure the house stayed in my name, and only my name. I'll also recommend you change your will, she said. Make it clear that the house goes to Ariv only under specific conditions. That way, even if something happens to you, she can't claim it. I nodded. Do it. She smiled slightly. You're stronger than you think. I didn't feel strong. I felt tired. But I wasn't backing down. When I got home that evening, Natasha was in the living room, scrolling through her phone. She didn't look up when I walked in. Natasha, I said calmly, I need to tell you something. She glanced at me, annoyed. What? I've spoken to a lawyer. I'm taking steps to protect this house. Legally. Her face went pale. Then red. You did what? I'm making sure that no one can take this house from me, I said. Not you. Not anyone. She stood, fury flashing in her eyes. You can't do that. I already did. She laughed, but it was a harsh, bitter sound. You think you're so smart, don't you? You think you can control everything? I'm not trying to control anything, I said. I'm protecting what's mine. It's not yours, she shouted. It's Ariv's. He's your son. This should go to him. It will, I said evenly. When I'm gone. But not to you. Her eyes blazed. We'll see about that. She stormed off, and moments later, I heard her on the phone. Her voice was loud, frantic. You need to come home. Now. Your mother has lost her mind. Ariv came home an hour later. His face was tight, his jaw set. Ma, what is going on? Natasha stood beside him, arms crossed, looking victorious. I'm protecting this house, I said calmly. That's all. By going behind our backs? He said, his voice rising. By talking to a lawyer without telling me? I don't need your permission, I said. This house is mine. I'm your son, he shouted. You're supposed to trust me. I do trust you, I said. But I don't trust her. Natasha gasped, her hand flying to her chest like I'd struck her. How dare you? Tell him the truth, Natasha, I said, my voice steady. Tell him what you said. Tell him you don't need him, you just need this house. Her face went white. Ariv looked between us, confused. What is she talking about? She's lying, Natasha said quickly. She's trying to turn you against me. I'm not lying, I said. I heard you. That night, in the living room. I heard every word. Ariv stared at Natasha. What is she talking about? Natasha opened her mouth. Closed it. Then, to my shock, she started crying. I don't know, she sobbed. She's making things up. She hates me, Ariv. She's always hated me. And just like that, Ariv's doubt faded. He went to her, wrapped his arms around her, and looked at me with something close to disgust. Ma, this has to stop. You're tearing this family apart. I looked at my son, and I realized. I'd already lost him. I didn't cry. Not when Ariv walked away with Natasha clinging to his arm. Not when I heard their bedroom door slam shut. Not when the house fell into suffocating silence. I just stood there in the middle of the living room, staring at the walls my husband had painted, and I felt nothing. No, that's not true. I felt anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, calculated kind. The kind that settles deep in your bones and sharpens your focus. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to break. I was going to win. Over the next few days, something shifted in me. I stopped trying to reason with Ariv. I stopped hoping he'd see the truth. I stopped waiting for him to defend me. Instead, I focused on the only thing I could control, protecting myself. I met with Aditi again. We finalized the legal documents. I updated my will, making it crystal clear that the house would only go to Ariv if Natasha had no claim to it. You're doing the right thing, Aditi assured me. This protects you. And it protects him, even if he doesn't see it yet. I nodded. But deep down, I wondered if Ariv would ever see it. Or if he was too far gone. At home, the tension was unbearable. Natasha barely spoke to me. When she did, it was to make pointed comments designed to hurt. Must be lonely, spending so much time alone, she'd say, her tone dripping with false sympathy. Ariv and I were talking about remodeling the master bedroom. You know, making it more ours. I saw a lovely retirement home the other day. Very peaceful. You might like it. Each comment was a dagger. But I didn't flinch. I didn't respond. I just watched. And waited. Then one evening, everything exploded. It was late. I'd gone to bed early, exhausted from the constant tension. But I woke up to raised voices downstairs. I slipped out of bed and moved quietly to the top of the stairs, listening. I'm tired of this. Natasha was shouting. I'm tired of walking on eggshells in my own home. It's not your home, Ariv said, his voice strained. It's my mother's. That's exactly the problem, she snapped. Why are we still living here? Why are we still under her roof, following her rules, dealing with her judgment? She's my mother, Natasha. So what? Her voice turned sharp, cutting. She's controlling you. She's manipulating you. She's using this house to keep you tied to her. That's not true. Isn't it? Natasha laughed bitterly. She's made it clear she doesn't want me here. She's done everything she can to push me out. And you just let her. That's not fair. Fair. Natasha's voice rose higher. You want to talk about fair? I gave up everything to marry you. I moved into this house, I put up with her constant criticism, I've tried so hard to make this work. And for what? To be treated like an outsider. You're not an outsider. Then why does she treat me like one? Natasha's voice cracked, and I could tell she was crying now. Why does she act like I'm trying to steal something from her? Silence. Then Ariv quietly, maybe because you are. I froze. What? Natasha's voice was low, dangerous. I heard you, Arif said, his voice shaking. That night. I heard what you said. What are you talking about? You said you didn't need me. You said you needed the house. Silence. My heart pounded. That's not, Natasha started. Don't lie to me, Arif interrupted, his voice stronger now. I heard you. I didn't want to believe it, but I heard you. More silence. Then Natasha laughed, a cold, bitter sound. Fine, she said. You want the truth? Here it is. I held my breath. Yes, I care about this house. Why wouldn't I? We're living here rent-free. This place is worth a fortune. And yeah, I thought, maybe if we played our cards right, it could be ours one day. Natasha. But you know what? She continued, her voice rising again. That doesn't mean I don't care about you. I married you, didn't I? I could have married someone richer. Someone without all this baggage. But I chose you. You chose this house, Arif said flatly. I chose stability, she shot back. I chose a future. Is that so wrong? You lied to me. I didn't lie. I just didn't tell you everything. There's a difference. No, Arif said, his voice breaking. There's not. I heard footsteps. A door slamming. Then silence. I went back to my room, my heart racing. Arif knew. He finally knew. But what would he do about it? The next morning, I woke to find Arif sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a cup of cold tea. He looked up when I walked in. His eyes were red, his face haggard. Ma, he said quietly. I'm sorry. I sat down across from him, my hands folded in my lap. For what? For not listening. For not believing you. For everything. I nodded slowly. What are you going to do? He rubbed his face. I don't know. I don't know. You need to make a choice, Arif, I said gently. You can't keep pretending this isn't happening. I know. His voice was barely a whisper. I just don't know how I got here. How I let things get this bad. I reached across the table and took his hand. You're not a bad person, Beta. You were just trying to keep the peace. But sometimes, peace costs too much. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain. What do I do? You stand up for what's right, I said. Even if it's hard. That evening, Arif confronted Natasha. I didn't hear all of it, I stayed in my room, giving them space. But I heard enough. Raised voices. Accusations. Tears. And then, finally, silence. When Arif knocked on my door an hour later, his face was pale. She's leaving, he said quietly. She's going to stay with her parents for a while. I nodded. And you? I'm staying here. With you. Relief flooded through me. But it was bittersweet. I'm sorry, Beta, I said softly. I know you loved her. He shook his head. I don't think she ever loved me. Not really. I pulled him into a hug, and for the first time in months, he let himself break. He sobbed into my shoulder like a child, and I held him, whispering the same words I'd whispered when he was small. It's okay. You're okay. We'll be okay. But we weren't okay. Not yet. Because 2 days later, Natasha came back. Not to apologize. Not to reconcile. To fight. She showed up with a lawyer. I'll never forget the look on her face when she walked through the door that morning, cold, composed, victorious. Gone was the crying, wounded wife. In her place stood a woman who knew exactly what she wanted and exactly how to get it. We need to talk, she said, her voice clipped and professional. Arif and I were in the living room. He stood up immediately, his face a mixture of shock and anger. What are you doing here? I'm here to discuss the terms of our separation, Natasha said coolly. She gestured to the man beside her, a middle-aged lawyer in a crisp suit. This is Mr. Varma. He's representing me. Representing you? Arif repeated, incredulous. We're not even officially separated yet. We will be, Natasha said. And when we are, I want what I'm entitled to. You're not entitled to anything, I said, standing. You've been married less than a year. And this house was never yours. Natasha's eyes flicked to me, cold and calculating. Actually, Mr. Varma interjected smoothly, under marital property laws, Mrs. Natasha Sharma is entitled to claim a portion of any assets acquired or maintained during the marriage. This house was built 30 years ago, I said. Long before they were married. True, Mr. Varma said. But during the marriage, renovations were made. Investments were put into the property. My client contributed financially and emotionally to this household. That entitles her to compensation. I stared at him, stunned. That's ridiculous, Arif said. She didn't contribute anything. If anything, she took from this house. That's not how the law sees it, Mr. Varma replied calmly. I suggest you consult your own lawyer. Because if this goes to court, it will get very expensive. For both of you. Natasha smiled. A thin, sharp smile. I don't want to fight, she said, her tone almost sweet. I just want what's fair. Give me what I'm owed, and I'll walk away quietly. And what do you think you're owed? I asked, my voice like ice. Natasha's smile widened. Half the value of this house. I called Aditi immediately after they left. She can't do that, can she? I asked, pacing my living room. She can't take half this house? She can try, Aditi said. But she won't win. The house is in your name. It was never transferred to Arif or her. She has no legal claim. But her lawyer said. Her lawyer is bluffing, Aditi interrupted. He's trying to scare you into settling. Don't give in. If she wants to fight this in court, let her. We have everything we need to prove she has no right to this property. I exhaled, relief washing over me. Okay. So what do we do? We wait, Aditi said. She'll either drop it, or she'll file a case. Either way, we're prepared. But Natasha didn't wait. Over the next few days, she launched a full-scale assault, not just legal but personal. She started spreading rumors in the neighborhood, telling people I'd abused her, that I'd driven her out of the house, that I was a manipulative, bitter old woman who couldn't let go of the past. She posted on social media, carefully crafted posts that painted her as the victim. It's heartbreaking when the people you try to love push you away. I gave everything to my marriage, only to be met with hatred and control. I'm staying strong, but it's hard. Prayers appreciated. The comments poured in. Sympathy. Support. Outrage directed at me, the unnamed villain in her story. Arif saw the posts and was furious. She's lying, he said, showing me his phone. She's making you look like a monster. Let her, I said quietly. People who matter know the truth. But it still hurt. Seeing strangers call me cruel, heartless, abusive. Seeing people I'd known for years start to look at me differently. Then Natasha took it a step further. She filed a police complaint. She claimed I'd threatened her. That I'd created a hostile environment. That I'd emotionally abused her during her time in the house. The police came to my door one afternoon. 2 officers, looking uncomfortable. Mrs. Sharma, one of them said gently. We need to ask you a few questions. I invited them in, my hand shaking but my voice steady. They asked about Natasha. About our relationship. About the incidents she described in her complaint. I answered honestly. I told them everything, calmly, clearly, without emotion. Do you have any proof of your side of the story? The officer asked. Yes, I said. I handed them copies of my journal. Screenshots of messages. The audio recordings I'd made. The officer flipped through the documents, his expression shifting. This is detailed, he said. I knew I'd need it, I replied. The officer nodded slowly. We'll file a report. But between you and me, ma'am, I don't think this is going anywhere. Her claims don't match the evidence. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. After they left, I sat down and allowed myself, just for a moment, to feel the weight of it all. Arif was devastated. I can't believe she'd do this, he said, pacing the living room. Filing a police complaint? She's trying to destroy you. She's desperate, I said. Desperate people do desperate things. But why? He asked, his voice breaking. What does she gain from this? Control, I said simply. She thought she could scare me into giving her what she wants. But she's realizing I won't back down. Arif sat down, his head in his hands. I should have seen this coming. I should have protected you. You're here now, I said gently. That's what matters. A week later, Natasha's lawyer sent a formal legal notice. She was suing for a share of the house's value, claiming she'd been unjustly removed from the property and demanding compensation. Aditi reviewed the notice and scoffed. This is weak, she said. She has no standing. But it's going to drag out for a while. Court cases like this take time. I don't care how long it takes, I said. I'm not giving her a single rupee. Aditi smiled. Good. Because we're going to win. As the legal battle dragged on, something unexpected happened. The neighborhood started to turn. At first, people had believed Natasha's story. But as more details emerged, as people heard my side, saw the evidence, learned the truth, the tide shifted. Mira, my old friend, became my fiercest advocate. She spoke to neighbors. She shared what she knew. She defended me when people whispered. She's one of the strongest women I know, Mira told anyone who'd listen. She built that house with her own hands. She raised her son alone. And now some opportunist wants to take it from her? Over my dead body. Slowly, people started showing up at my door. Offering support. Bringing food. Checking in. We're with you, they'd say. Don't let her win. It was overwhelming. And it reminded me that I wasn't as alone as I'd felt. But the most powerful moment came from an unexpected source. One evening, there was a knock on the door. I opened it to find Natasha's mother standing there. I was shocked. Mrs. Kapoor? She looked uncomfortable. Ashamed, even. May I come in? I stepped aside, and she entered, glancing around the house. I owe you an apology, she said quietly. I didn't respond. I just waited. I didn't know, she continued. I didn't know what Natasha was doing. She told us you were difficult, that you didn't accept her. But she never told us the whole story. And now you know? I asked. She nodded. Her father and I, we saw the police report. We saw the evidence you provided. And we realized. She trailed off, her voice thick. We raised her better than this. Or at least, we thought we did. She looked at me, tears in her eyes. I'm sorry. For what she's put you through. You didn't deserve this. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't expected this. I've told her to drop the case, Mrs. Kapoor continued. I've told her she's wrong. But she won't listen. She's not the girl I raised. I don't know who she's become. Thank you for coming, I said softly. It means more than you know. She nodded, wiped her eyes, and left. And I stood there, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. The court date arrived on a gray, drizzly morning in March. I woke up early, my stomach in knots. I'd barely slept the night before, running through every possible scenario, every piece of evidence, every word I might have to say. Arif was quieter than usual over breakfast. He kept glancing at me, his face tight with worry. Are you okay, Ma? I nodded, sipping my tea. I'm fine. You don't have to do this alone, he said. I'm coming with you. I know, I said, reaching across the table to squeeze his hand. And I'm grateful. Aditi met us at the courthouse. She was calm, confident, her briefcase full of documents. We're going to be fine, she assured me. Just stay calm, answer the questions honestly, and let me handle the rest. I nodded, though my hands were trembling. Inside the courtroom, Natasha was already seated with her lawyer. She looked immaculate, perfectly dressed, perfectly composed. When she saw me, her expression didn't change. She just stared, cold and unreadable. I looked away. The judge entered, and the proceedings began. Natasha's lawyer went first, laying out her case. He painted a picture of a young woman who'd been mistreated, pushed out of her home, denied her rights. My client entered this marriage with the expectation of building a life with her husband, Mr. Varma said smoothly. She contributed to the household. She invested time, energy, and resources into improving the property. And yet, she was systematically alienated by her mother-in-law, who refused to accept her. This is a clear case of emotional abuse and unjust enrichment. I clenched my fists under the table. Then it was Aditi's turn. She stood, poised and powerful, and dismantled his argument piece by piece. Your Honor, the facts are simple. Mrs. Sharma, the respondent, has been the sole legal owner of this property for over 30 years. The house was built by her and her late husband. It has never been transferred to her son, and certainly not to the petitioner. She pulled out documents, laying them on the table. The petitioner claims she contributed to the household. But the evidence shows otherwise. She made cosmetic changes without permission. She removed sentimental items belonging to the respondent's late husband. And most importantly, Aditi paused, her voice hardening. She explicitly stated that her interest was in the property, not the marriage. Natasha's lawyer stood. Objection. That's hearsay. It's not hearsay when we have a recording, Aditi said coolly. A murmur ran through the courtroom. Aditi nodded to me, and I pulled out my phone. She played the audio, Natasha's voice, cold and clear. Asterisk, I don't need your son. I need your house. Asterisk. The room went silent. Natasha's face went pale. Her lawyer looked stunned. The judge leaned forward. Is this recording authenticated? Yes, Your Honor, Aditi said. We have the original file with metadata proving the time, date, and location it was recorded. The judge nodded slowly. Continue. Over the next hour, Aditi laid out the full case. She presented my journal, the messages, the testimonies from neighbors, even a statement from Natasha's own mother, expressing her shame over her daughter's actions. By the time she finished, there was no doubt, no ambiguity. Natasha had lied, manipulated, schemed, and now everyone knew. The judge looked at Natasha, his expression stern. Mrs. Natasha Sharma, do you have anything to say in your defense? Natasha stood, her hands shaking. For the first time, she looked uncertain. I was just trying to build a home, she said, her voice trembling. I never meant to hurt anyone. You explicitly stated that you married for property, the judge said. That contradicts your claim. I was upset, she said quickly. I didn't mean it. People say things they don't mean when they're angry. And the other evidence? The judge asked. The removal of items without permission? The hostile behavior documented by multiple witnesses? Natasha opened her mouth. Closed it. She had no answer. The judge sighed. Mrs. Sharma, this court recognizes that marriages can be difficult. Family dynamics can be complicated. But what this court does not tolerate is fraud, manipulation, and false accusations. He looked at her sternly. You have no legal claim to this property. Your petition is dismissed. Natasha's face crumpled. Furthermore, the judge continued, I am ordering you to pay the respondent's legal fees. And I am issuing a restraining order. You are not to contact Mrs. Sharma or enter her property without permission. Natasha's lawyer stood. Your Honor. My decision is final, the judge said. This case is closed. The gavel fell. I sat there stunned. It was over. Aditi turned to me, smiling. We won. We won, I repeated, the words feeling surreal. Arif hugged me tightly. It's over, Ma. It's finally over. I let myself exhale. Let myself feel the weight lift. Outside the courtroom, Natasha stood alone, her face streaked with tears. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered everything she'd put me through. The lies. The manipulation. The pain. And I walked past her without a word. That evening, Arif and I sat in the living room, the same room where this had all started. I'm sorry, Ma, he said quietly. For everything. I know, I said. And I forgive you. He looked at me, surprised. You made mistakes, I continued. But you learned from them. That's what matters. He nodded, his eyes wet. I'll never let anyone disrespect you again. I promise. I believe you, I said. And for the first time in months, I felt at peace. The days after the court ruling felt strange. Not because anything dramatic happened, but because, finally, nothing did. The house was quiet again. Peaceful. Mine. I walked through each room slowly, touching the walls, straightening the frames I'd put back up, breathing in the familiar scent of old wood and lavender. It felt like coming home after a long, exhausting journey. Ariv stayed with me. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He started helping around the house, fixing things that had broken, repainting the walls, tending the garden. I should have done this a long time ago, he said one afternoon as we worked together in the backyard. You're doing it now, I said. That's what matters. He smiled. A small, sad smile. I miss him, Papa. Me too, I said softly. We worked in silence for a while, and it felt healing. A few weeks after the trial, Ariv told me he'd filed for divorce. I should have done it sooner, he said. But I kept hoping. I don't know. That things would somehow get better. Hope isn't a bad thing, I said. But sometimes you have to let go. He nodded. She didn't contest it. Her lawyer said she just wants it over with. Good, I said. I feel like I wasted so much time, Ariv admitted. I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought she was the one. But I was so wrong. You weren't wrong to want love, I said gently. You were just looking in the wrong place. He looked at me, his eyes full of regret. I should have listened to you. You were trying to build your own life, I said. I understand that. I just wish you hadn't lost yourself in the process. I won't make that mistake again, he said. I believed him. One evening, as I was making tea, there was a knock on the door. I opened it to find a young woman standing there, holding a bouquet of flowers. Mrs. Sharma? She asked nervously. Yes. My name is Priya. I'm a journalist. I've been following your case, and I wanted to ask if you'd be willing to share your story. I hesitated. Why? Because it's important, she said. What you went through, what you fought for, it's something a lot of women face. Older women being pushed out of their own homes, being manipulated, losing their voices. I looked at her, considering. I think people need to hear your story, she continued. Not as a victim, but as someone who stood up and won. I thought about it. About everything I'd been through. About the other women who might be going through the same thing. Okay, I said. I'll do it. The article came out a month later. It was honest, raw, and powerful. Priya had captured everything. The betrayal, the fight, the legal battle, the emotional toll. But more than that, she'd captured the message I wanted to send. Asterisk, you are not powerless. Your voice matters. Your home is yours. Asterisk. The response was overwhelming. Letters poured in from women all over the country. Women who'd been through similar situations. Women who'd lost their homes. Women who were fighting to keep them. Thank you for speaking up, one letter said. You gave me the courage to fight back. Another, I thought I was alone. But reading your story made me realize I'm not. I read every single letter. And I cried. Not from sadness, but from something deeper. Hope. But not everything was resolved. One evening, as I was sitting on the porch, a car pulled up. Natasha stepped out. I tensed immediately, my hand reaching for my phone. I'm not here to cause trouble, she said, holding up her hands. I wanted to talk. We have nothing to talk about, I said coldly. I know, she said. But please. Just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I nodded. She sat down on the steps, keeping her distance. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. She just stared at the garden. I was wrong, she said finally, her voice quiet. About everything. I didn't respond. I thought I was being smart. Strategic. I thought if I played my cards right, I'd have security. A future. She laughed bitterly. But I was just being selfish. You think? I said, my voice sharp. She flinched. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't expect you to. But I needed you to know. I'm sorry. I looked at her, this woman who'd tried to destroy me, and I felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just emptiness. You didn't just try to take my house, I said quietly. You tried to take my son. My dignity. My peace. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. And you almost succeeded. I'm sorry, she whispered. I stood. Your apology doesn't change anything. You made your choices. Now you have to live with them. She looked up at me, broken. Goodbye, Natasha, I said. Don't come back. I walked inside and closed the door. That night, I told Ariv about her visit. What did you say to her? He asked. That it's over, I said. And that she needs to move on. He nodded slowly. Do you think she meant it? The apology? I don't know, I said honestly. And I don't care. He looked at me, surprised. I spent so long being angry, I explained. So long fighting. But I'm tired, Beta. I just want peace. You deserve it, he said. So do you, I replied. Over the following months, life slowly returned to normal. Ariv started dating again, carefully, cautiously. He was more thoughtful now. More aware. I'm not rushing into anything, he told me. I want to make sure I really know someone before I commit. Good, I said. He met a woman named Kovya. She was kind, grounded, respectful. And most importantly, she treated me like family. Your mother is wonderful, she told Ariv one evening over dinner. You're lucky to have her. I smiled. And I'm lucky to have you both. 1 year after the trial, I decided to make a change. I legally transferred a portion of the house to Ariv, not all of it, but enough to show him that I trusted him. Ma, you don't have to do this, he said, shocked. I know, I said. But I want to. This house will be yours one day. But for now, it's ours. Together. He hugged me tightly. Thank you. Just promise me one thing, I said. Anything. Never let anyone make you forget where you came from. Never let anyone take away what your father built. I promise, he said. The house stands strong today. Weathered but beautiful. Full of memories, love, and resilience. And every time I walk through its halls, I think of Rajesh. I think of the life we built. The sacrifices we made. And I know, he'd be proud. There's a certain kind of quiet that comes after a storm. Not the heavy, oppressive quiet of tension. But a soft, gentle quiet. The kind that lets you breathe again. That's what my life felt like now. It had been 2 years since the trial. 2 years since Natasha left. 2 years since I reclaimed my home. And in that time, everything had changed. Ariv was thriving. He'd gotten a promotion at work. He and Kovya had moved into their own apartment nearby, but he still visited often. Just checking in on you, Ma, he'd say, though we both knew he came because he wanted to. Because home was still home. Kovya would come with him, bringing sweets, helping with cooking, sitting with me over tea. You raised a good man, she told me once. Thank you for that. I smiled. He raised himself. I just guided him. That's not true, she said gently. He's good because of you. I didn't argue. The house had changed too. Not in the way Natasha had tried to change it, cold, modern, stripped of memory. But in a way that honored the past while embracing the future. I repainted the walls in soft, warm colors. I brought back the old furniture, but added a few new pieces that felt right. I replanted the garden, roses, jasmine, marigolds. The same flowers Rajesh had loved. And in the corner of the living room, I hung a new photo. One of the three of us, me, Rajesh and Ariv. Smiling. Together. It felt complete. One afternoon, Mira came to visit. We sat on the porch, sipping tea, watching the world go by. You look happy, she said. I am, I said, surprised by how true it was. You deserve it, Mira said. After everything you went through. I think I needed it, I admitted. All of it. The pain, the fight, the struggle. It reminded me who I am. And who are you? She asked, smiling. I thought for a moment. Someone who doesn't give up. Someone who knows her worth. Someone who built something beautiful and refused to let it be taken away. Mira raised her cup. To you. I clinked my cup against hers. To us. To survival. I started volunteering at a local women's shelter. After my story was published, I'd received so many letters from women who felt trapped, powerless, invisible. I wanted to help them, to show them that they didn't have to stay silent. I held workshops, teaching women about their legal rights, about property laws, about protecting themselves. I didn't know I had options, one woman told me, tears in her eyes. I thought I just had to accept it. You always have options, I told her. It's just a matter of finding them. Watching these women stand up for themselves, reclaim their voices, fight for their homes, it filled me with a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in years. One evening, as I was locking up the house, I heard a voice behind me. Excuse me? Mrs. Sharma. I turned to see a young woman standing at the gate. Yes. I'm sorry to bother you, she said nervously. But I read your story. And I needed to talk to someone. I opened the gate. Come in. Her name was Anjali. She was in her 30s, married, living with her in-laws. They treat me like I don't exist, she said, her voice shaking. I'm just there. To cook, to clean, to serve. But I'm not. I'm not a person to them. I listened as she poured out her story. The disrespect. The control. The slow erosion of her identity. It was painfully familiar. When she finished, I took her hand. You are not invisible, I said firmly. You are a person. You have value. And you deserve to be treated with respect. She looked at me, tears streaming down her face. But what can I do? You fight, I said. Not with anger. Not with bitterness. But with strength. With clarity. With the knowledge that you are worth fighting for. She nodded, wiping her eyes. And you don't fight alone, I continued. There are people who will help you. I will help you. She squeezed my hand. Thank you. Over the next few months, I helped Anjali navigate her situation. We found her a lawyer. We documented the mistreatment. We built a case. She moved out. Filed for separation. Reclaimed her life. And when she finally stood on her own, independent and strong, she came back to thank me. I wouldn't have made it without you, she said. Yes, you would have, I said. You had the strength all along. You just needed someone to remind you. On the anniversary of Rajesh's death, I sat in the garden, the way I did every year. I brought his photo, a garland of marigolds, and a cup of tea. We did it, I whispered to him. We built something that lasted. Something strong. I imagined him smiling. Proud. Arav is good, I continued. He's happy. He's learning. And he's becoming the man you always knew he could be. The wind rustled the leaves, and I felt, just for a moment, like he was there. I miss you, I said softly. Every day. But I'm okay. We're okay. I sat there for a long time, letting the sun warm my face, letting the memories wash over me. And for the first time in years, I felt at peace. That evening, Arav and Kavya came over for dinner. We ate together, laughed together, shared stories. This house feels different now, Arav said, looking around. Lighter. It is, I said. Because we're not carrying the weight of someone else's darkness anymore. Kavya smiled. It's beautiful. Really beautiful. It always was, I said. We just had to remember that. Later that night, after they left, I walked through the house one last time before bed. I touched the walls, the door frames, the windowsills. Every corner held a memory. Every room told a story. This house had seen love and loss, joy and pain, betrayal and redemption. But it was still standing. And so was I. As I climbed into bed, I thought about everything I'd been through. The fear, the anger, the heartbreak, but also the strength, the resilience, the victory. I thought about the women I'd helped, the lives I'd touched, the stories I'd shared. And I realized something. This wasn't just about saving a house. It was about reclaiming my voice, my dignity, my power. It was about proving that I mattered. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in years, I fell asleep without fear, without worry, without doubt, because I knew deep in my bones that I was exactly where I was meant to be, in the home I'd built, in the life I'd fought for, at peace.